What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for May 27th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. A couple housekeeping things before we get started. Dropped the new Back to the Future this week. We revisited the AI Larry Brown era of the Sixers. Kind of talked about what went wrong and who was to blame. So be sure to check that out wherever you get your podcasts as well as YouTube. Be sure to tell someone else about it. Much like we did with the Eagles, we're kind of attacking this mourning period for the Sixers season and ultimately probably the process head on and just going right into the pain and ripping off the Band-Aid and just revisiting some of those other missed opportunities that this team had. So be sure to check that out. Wherever you get your podcasts, it's a good listen while you're sitting on your back porch, barbecuing, at the pool, whatever you're doing. Excuse me, my allergies are still bothering me. But be sure to check out Back to the Future with a PH wherever you get your podcast. This week we talk about Larry Brown and Allen Iverson. Speaking of Allen Iverson, our friends at PhillyGoat.com have two again, I keep saying this because it's true. Like, I want to buy every single shirt on their site. But they have a couple of nice Allen Iverson t-shirts. They have the one where when he used to get the crowd going and put his ear up like Hulk Hogan. They have a shirt like that, which is really cool. Nice black one. The good thing about PhillyGoat.com, too, I will say this. All of their shirts you can get in a variety of colors, not just the ones that they have sort of advertised on the website, but the Allen Iverson one with his ear going to the crowd at the Wells Fargo Center in black, I think looks really nice. So I'll add it to my Father's Day wish list. And they also have a nice We Talking About Practice shirt too. But speaking of Father's Day, this would be a great gift for yourself, or you can maybe drop hints to your kids or your wife or your girlfriend or mom, baby mama, whoever. Go to PhillyGoat.com. If they are going to get you something from there, remind them to use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of their order at checkout. That's PhillyGoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. All right. Nice Phillies update. It was a good win last night, and now I'm almost feeling like even though they don't have necessarily wins to show for it, they've played now a couple good games in a row, a few good games in a row where they're getting hits. I mean, the one thing about this team is they are hitting the ball. They're getting the guys on base. It's getting them in recently that they've been really struggling with, but they won 6-4. Despite all of that, they still went 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position, 8 guys left on base. So, I mean, if you think about it, they scored 6 runs. So if they can just get a couple more of them and raise that average a couple points with runners in scoring position, this offense could be lethal. The starting pitching looked pretty good. Kimbrel came in, got his 400th save. He's the 8th player to ever do that, and it's pretty cool that it came in Atlanta, who's the team that drafted him to start his career. So they're 7 games back now, the Braves, and they're still in 4th place. So I think what we need to do is focus on catching the teams in front of us. They're only a game and a half behind the Marlins, and I think 2.5 behind the Mets. So let's kind of start putting them in our crosshairs because, like I said earlier this week, I feel like this team is ready to sort of turn that corner, and I think it's the pitching. Like the offense, I think is going to be fine. That's going to come. If you remember back to the Charlie Manuel Phillies, they went through stretches where they were leaving a ton of guys on base and not hitting well with runners in scoring position. Even in the World Series that they won against Tampa Bay, I remember early in that series, we're like, oh my God, they're going to lose this series because they can't knock runs in. So that will come, especially as the weather starts getting warmer, the ball starts flying more. But it's the pitching. Like Tawan Walker looked pretty good yesterday again. So I want to see what Wheeler looks like today. But if he comes out and looks good, and then Ranger Suarez comes out and has another, and now you have the question about the 5th starter. But if you can get those 4 guys doing what they need to do, the bullpen does what they need to do. Now's be the time for them to turn it around and go on a nice little run. But looking forward to some some Memorial Day baseball against the Braves. It was definitely like a playoff atmosphere watching that last night. So definitely looking forward to that this afternoon. Quick Eagles update, and I'm just gonna say no, it's not gonna fit. We basically have him on our team now. No, and we don't want to start going down the dream team. Not even gonna go into details. Just no. No. Union in action tonight at home against the New York City Football Club. Looking for them to continue their nice little streak they've been on. But this day in Philly sports history, we're going to go back to 1975. And on this day in 1975, the Flyers beat the Buffalo Sabres 2-0 in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Bob Kelly and Bill Clement scored Clement. Sorry, I forgot. He's Bill Clement. But Bob Kelly and Bill Clement scored for the Flyers. The Flyers won their second straight Stanley Cup. Bernie Parent won his second straight Conn Smythe Trophy as the MVP of the playoffs. He was the first person to do that. Not the first person to win two, but the first person to win back-to-back. The only other two guys to do that, unfortunately, were Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby. Ugh. But a Flyers guy was the first. But for those of you who are scoring at home, and we know the two Penguins guys did it back-to-back years, Patrick Waugh is the only one to win 3. He has the most. And Bernie Parent is not the only Flyer to win it. Reggie Leach won it the next year in 1976 in a losing effort. And then Ron Hextall won it in, I believe it was 1987, also in a losing effort. He was just outstanding in that series. All right, our Sixers playoff spotlight. We're going to go back to 2004, 2005. Sixers were 43-39. Second in the division, 7th in the conference. That just showed how weak the Atlantic Division was back then. This was Jim O'Brien's first year as coach. They traded for Chris Webber around midseason, and he struggled to kind of fit in. It was just the latest attempt at finding a second scorer to play with Iverson, which we go into great detail on that on Back to the Future, so be sure to give that a listen if you want to get more into the details of what happened here. Iverson led the league in scoring that year. It was the 4th and final time he won a scoring title. He won the MVP of the All-Star game, which was also his second. Ironically enough, it was in Denver, which he was the team he was traded to a few years later. Andre Iguodala was on the All-Rookie team. They did lose in the playoffs in the first round to the defending champion Detroit Pistons 4-1, unfortunately, against our former coach, Larry Brown, which, again, we discussed this championship team in detail in the Back to the Future. But Jim O'Brien was fired after the season. This was when they led into the Mo Cheeks hiring, and it was supposed to be the resurgence of the Sixers and getting back to the promised land. Mo Cheeks was coming home. We kind of know how that worked out. But Jim O'Brien was the third coach fired in 2 years, or I shouldn't say fired because I don't think Chris Ford technically was fired. He just wasn't. He was an interim. But Randy Ayers, Chris Ford, and Jim O'Brien, from Larry Brown to Mo Cheeks, they were all the guys in between. So the 04-05 Sixers just couldn't get it done. AI had probably one of the best years of his career, but it was all for naught. But be sure to go to phillygoat.com and get some of those Iverson t-shirts for Father's Day. Drop a hint. Your significant other, your wife, your girlfriend, whoever, they can use the promo code too. Anybody that's shopping for you, your kids, if they're old enough to do their own shopping, tell them, hey, Uncle Jim says use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. But looking forward to a fun Memorial Day weekend. Good Phillies action. Let's keep it rolling. I said that I won at least two out of 4, so let's take the second one tonight and then play with the house money tomorrow. Union in action tonight, and I'm not going to mention his name, but just get the thought out of your head now. Just don't even think about him. He's not coming to the Eagles. It's not a good fit. Forget about it. All right, this has been This Day in Philly Sports History. Flyers 2, Buffalo Sabres nothing for the second straight Stanley Cup. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Saturday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.